talk directly to the contemporary issues. Before that, I just like to mention a few basic things like here. When you design any supply chain, we have to remember three basic entities. The first one, the raw material and finished product. Second one, that is supplier and customer. And third one, the flow of goods, flow of information, and flow of fund. So when you like to design any supply chain, we have to ensure the three basic entities. Now, if you ask very simple way, what is supply chain? This is one chain that will start from supplier and finish the customer end. But we have to ensure these three basic entities. Interestingly, we can apply this supply chain concept in the manufacturing industry as well as service industry. When you like to apply the service industry, that we like to say flow of service. In the manufacturing industry, we like to say flow of goods. So that means we can apply these three basic entities for the manufacturing industry as well as for the service industry. This is an example for the manufacturing industry, how we can apply. What I said here, at first we have to think about the supplier, then customer. We have to think raw materials come from the supplier end. After the processing, finished product deal with the customer end. And then flow of goods, flow of information, and flow of fund. Similarly, we can apply for the basic supply chain for the service industry. But there's one difference in manufacturing industry and service industry. That is that in the service industry, we are assuming that non-profitable organization. So their ultimate target, they like to add the values to the society. So basically, we call it the society, the consumer, so end customer or end user. If you ask like the university supply chain management, educational institution supply chain management. If you think this one, educational supply chain management or the hospital supply chain management, the most important thing is that if you say this hospital supply chain management, you never say that your main target to get the profit. You never say that you target how you can get the more profit from there. You always mention one thing is that what is your target in the service in the supply chain management? You target in service in the supply chain management how you could add the values, how you could add the values to the society. So your ultimate target the society contribution. This is application of the manufacturing industry and service industry. I don't want to talk too much because the other speakers they will discuss about this issue. You know that we can apply the supply chain management anywhere, like whatever the manufacturing industry, like a ready-made garments industry, like a poultry industry, pharmaceutical industry. If we can apply the supply chain management service industry, what I said earlier. And when you think about the supply chain management, we always remember there is a few basic facilities we have to ensure, few function activities we have to ensure. So this is some of the examples, what kind of facilities we have to need in supply chain management and what kind of functions and activities are required in the supply chain management. I don't want to talk too much, so that I believe that you have some idea and other speakers will discuss about this issue. This is a historical evolution of supply chain management. If you look very carefully here, then you can see this one, and that our supply chain management, they started their journey by the name of the logistic management. It was the 1950s when the supply chain management, they started their journey, and by the name of the logistic management. Officially, supply chain management, they started their journey in 1980s. So we can assume that this is the starting point of the supply chain management. But if you look very carefully, that the starting of supply chain management, 1980s, now 2023. So only you can see the 43 years. Basically, in terms of years, 43 years is nothing in the research. If you ask me mechanical engineering or the like electrical engineering or the HRM, human resource management, or maybe the marketing, they established their area 200 years, 300 years before. So in that sense, supply chain was very new. So officially started their journey in 1980s. And then most of the research on supply chain management in the manufacturing industry, only few research on the service industry supply chain management. Still, if you ask anyone, that any industry, any company, that do you have the supply chain department? Maybe some of the companies will say, no, we have the logistic department. We have the procurement department. We have the transportation department. So we have the purchasing department. But you know that when you say the supply chain management, then everything will be in the one umbrella. Whatever procurement, purchasing, retailing, transportation, logistic, everything is within the supply chain management. So what I mentioned here, that this is a new concept, and that's why I like to congratulate that the alumni, this campus, they organize this kind of initiative, the supply chain day for the students, so that they are familiar, they will be aware about the supply chain. So what I said that you can apply the supply chain management in the manufacturing industry. So I don't want to talk too much about this one. This is some of the example that supply chain management in the ready-made garments industry, supply chain management in the fishing industry, supply chain management in the textile industry, and supply chain performance measurement in the manufacturing industry, and supply chain management also applicable in the service industry. This is a tourism supply chain management, the tourism supply chain management. If you look very carefully, that tourism supply chain management is one kind of service industry, and then if you go to the next one, that education supply chain management. But what I said earlier, whatever supply chain, you have to always think of the three basic entities, and the supplier, customer, raw materials will come from supplier, and after the processing, finished product will be the customer end. The flow of service, flow of information, and flow of fund. There is one model. This is the ITESCM model. The dear participant, dear students, if you're interested about this model, you can get the more information about this model from the Google. So just write down the name of this model, ITESCM, Integrated Tertiary Educational Supply Chain Management Model. I can repeat, it's very, this is the model for the supply chain management model for the tertiary education institutions like university. Now, you see, my main topic is the contemporary issues. So I'm coming to that level. COVID-19 time, when our pandemic started their journey, we should recall that in 2020 January, the China was locked down. The first time we heard that there is a epidemic is coming, something like that. So now come to the question is that during the pandemic time, we got the supply chain disruption. So if anybody asks you when we are facing the supply chain disruption, we face the supply chain disruption two times. One is that during the pandemic time, and secondly, Russia-Ukraine war. So just a few minutes before I mentioned supply chain, right? Supply to custom. So due to the supply chain disruption, that all internal parties, internal stakeholders, supply chain management is disrupted. So now what I said that pandemic is the one time we face the supply chain disruption, and secondly we face the Russia-Ukraine war. And due to this one, you know that we are facing this inflation issues, we are facing that information distortion, we are facing the price crisis, and there is other issues also due to the supply chain disruption. I just give that two examples so that you can think. Apple, their main manufacturing industry in the China. So during the lockdown, that was a lockdown. So they stopped their business, stopped their production, and you understand one of the main manufacturing in China of the Apple. So unfortunately, they cannot work that time. And now the Apple, they're thinking, why don't we move to the different continent? They're thinking that a different hub. Suppose that they're in India, another is Vietnam, and Mexico. So that means they're moving to the different level, different country due to the pandemic experience. And not only that, if you ask me about the Samsung, basically you know that the Samsung mother country is South Korea. So they also face the same issue due to the lockdown. So now they're also thinking that why not they can set up that their factory out of the Korea. So that is some things we notice due to the pandemic time. And now come to the point is that earlier we thought that before the pandemic time that all production will be centralized. Nowadays we said no, it's better decentralized. So that if there's a lockdown, at least you can survive, you can continue the supply chain. And during this pandemic, we also learning the another one thing is that multiple suppliers, like the diversification of suppliers. So we have to think about the first tier supplier, second tier supplier, third tier supplier. And secondly, digitalization. We should think about the digitization, how we can move to the analog system to the digital system. That is another learning from our COVID-19 period. Earlier we thought that we designed the supply chain, what we designed the supply chain earlier during the pandemic, that it was some smarter supply chain. But now we understood as a supply chain researcher, no, what we design our supply chain during the pandemic time, during the supply chain disruption, we noticed is a fragile supply chain. So now we have to think how we can produce that smarter, stronger, industry-driven supply chain. That during the pandemic time, we faced that disruption in the port area, particularly seaport, and then factory area due to the human resource, lots of units they're affected by the pandemic, COVID-19, and delivery channel, like transportation issues. So if you look very carefully, we are facing the disruption everywhere. Even you can see that we face a disruption in the rural farm level, from where we have to collect the raw materials. So that means we have to start to think how we can cope up this kind of pandemic time. It was one of the supply chain disruption example during the pandemic time, based on the Bangladesh, our largest seaport in Chittagong port. Once a time during the pandemic, in the shipment, there is a product capacity more than the storage capacity of the port. And not only that, there is a waiting of the jetties. There is lots of shipments are waiting for the offloading. So it is very common issue we noticed in the pandemic time. What I said earlier, that now we are thinking that how we can move to the next level. Suppose if you face this kind of supply chain disruption, how we can make the alternative option. There is one proposal is that let us start to think the micro supply chain. Earlier we thought that the macro supply chain, the large level supply chain. Nowadays we see the macro, instead of the macro supply chain, we should start to think the micro supply chain. And maybe we have to think about the buy where you make and make where you sell. And maybe there will be debate, but at least the pandemic time, we got this kind of experience. Suppose Malaysia, Johor Bahru, the factory, raw materials will come from the Penang, and now Penang was locked down, so they're going to send the raw materials. And now Penang is open, but the Johor Bahru, they have a lockdown, so they cannot go for the production. So this kind of issue is very common issue. I know that many multinational companies, they're too much depend on the China, so they have to wait for the raw materials will come from China. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the raw materials, and they stopped their operation. So that's why I said that let's start in this way, that like micro supply chain, buy where you make and make where you sell. And then the second thing is that supply diversification. I already mentioned. Maybe we have to go to the few options: the first tier supply, second tier supply, third tier supply. Maybe we can think about from international level, we can bring the raw materials. If you couldn't get that supply, then go to the second supplier, or maybe the local supplier. You should think about the local supplier. Now come to the point is that what you said that technological advancement like artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain, big data, how we can apply our whole supply chain. Our target supply to customer end. So now we have to think how we can apply this kind of things in our whole supply chain. I believe one of our speakers, she talked about the blockchain, so you get the more idea about this one. And what I said earlier, that if you look very carefully, the supply chain train, the starting of supply chain was in the 1980s, then 2020 we got the pandemic, so the first disruption, then again we got the second disruption due to the Russia-Ukraine war. So our whole research area in supply chain has been changed, and our contemporary issues has been modification is required. Like nowadays we have to think how we can manage the factory processing sand during the pandemic. We are assuming that next time we will get again the pandemic time, again the supply chain disruption will happen. How we manage it? Transportation issue, inventory issue, retailing issue. How we can manage? How we can manage the information distortion during the pandemic time? So we are assuming the next time we will face this kind of issue again. We have to think of the how we can manage supply chain disruption in the different area like ready-made garments industry, textile, FMCG, pharmaceutical industry, something like that. how you can manage the port during the pandemic time. So when you notice this kind of disruption again, how will you manage it? Let us start to think of how the modern supply selection methodology can apply, modern purchasing technique can apply, how we can apply the IoT, Internet of Things, advanced location planning can apply in our whole supply chain. We should start to think that vehicle tracking system, the transportation, maybe we can apply here our vehicle tracking system, GPS system, something like we can apply. How we can apply the retailing center, artificial intelligence, how we can manage the advanced inventory, how we can go for the integrated digital port management system. If you look very carefully, I just give the few idea about how we can think about the supply chain management and this kind of things after the pandemic, after the disruption. In academia, also the supply chain disruption. We couldn't think that early online meeting, Zoom class, Google Meet class, now it is possible. Even we are delivering the lecture today in the Microsoft team. So there is another blended academic supply chain you have to start to think. And the same thing in the hospital. Now we have to think how we can apply that future hospital supply chain management after the pandemic time. So technology will be one of the key factors there. And finally, I would say that supply chain change their dimension. So now this is a time to think how we can apply the advanced technology in our whole supply chain. In that case, our artificial intelligence, machine learning, Industrial Revolution 4, Industrial Revolution 5.0, automation, robots, IoT, blockchain, big data, that would be the vital role in our whole supply chain. What I said earlier, it will be like our technology-driven, smarter, industry-based supply chain management in our future generation. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much. I just like to request the participants, if you have any question, you can send me email. Maybe you'll get the reply from me. And if you have any interest about this kind of area, that I like to request, you can send the email. Inshallah, you'll get the reply from my side. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Who is the next presenter?
I think I'm the second one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can I, if you allow the other speakers, can I leave?
Hi, Professor. Can you hear us?
Yes, we
Yes,
can
yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All of us as students need to know more about the contemporary issues of the supply chain, especially things that relate to IT. Blockchain, can you hear us?
Yes, but there is
So,
also something in the background.
Yeah. So that was very beneficial. Thank you so much for such a presentation. Do you guys have any questions? Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Talk about supply chain innovation with Professor Nyoman.
So I'm so sorry, I have to leave now.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof. Nyoman, and my other two speakers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
See you later.
See you later.
So, I'll be next, right?
I was announced as the third one, so you can be the second one.
All right. Okay. All right, everybody can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so first of all, I would like to thank the organizer for inviting me to share in this interesting international lecture. So I'm Nyoman Pujawan from Indonesia, working as a professor in supply chain engineering in one public institution called ITS, or Institut Teknologi 10 November. I will be presenting some basic ideas about supply chain innovation. So we are now living in a very complex world, but what we have right now has been a result of much advancement from long time ago. In facing this complex supply chain, I think we witnessed already there are a lot of innovation that has been taking place in the context of supply chain. And most of them are actually driven by technology that can improve the efficiency of the supply chain, or probably can increase the speed or responsiveness, or creating better accuracy, like in inventory, record accuracy, shipment data accuracy, etc. Improves quality of the product or services, and also provides better flexibility in dealing with highly uncertain demand. So I think there are a lot of innovation that we have seen from time to time. If you are looking around in the supply chain processes, be it is in the production activity or in the transportation or storage activity, we see that there are a lot of development that has been taking place, and some of them actually have been happening long time ago, and we just take it as a granted right now. But things like a pallet, for example, is a very simple innovation that provides a lot of support for faster, easier, and more efficient supply chain. And then after that, we have containers, shipping containers. We have standardized shipping containers, 20 feet, 40 feet containers. That is a kind of innovation. It's not really a very complicated product, not very complicated things, but it has been helping a lot in the supply chain. Likewise, we have forklift, and then vessels that has a very large capacity, what is people now call as mega vessels, with a capacity of more than 20,000 TEUs. TEUs stand for 20 feet equivalent units. And also some newer innovation in technology, including drone, for example, for shipping package, intelligent robot that is used in a warehouse, Google Glass for picking activity in the warehouse. So these are among the innovations that already help a lot in the supply chain. So some of those innovations that I mentioned are already there for very long time, like the first three, pallet, container, and forklift, while some are actually quite new that we witness in the supply chain world. I would like to review a little bit of the development in the context of supply chain, because when we are talking about innovation, we see there are a lot of development surrounding the production and the way we store and transport the product across the globe. If we look back at the history of the mass production, for example, where Ford is much associated with this practice, Ford is one of a very big innovation in the supply chain, where before the Ford era, I think the time to produce a single car was very long. And then Ford transformed the production system into what is called assembly line. And that reduced a lot of the time that is used to produce a single car. So a massive improvement in terms of efficiency, and the cost to produce a car is going down very much, and car becomes more affordable for people. So that is one of very, very big innovations in the supply chain a long, long time ago. But of course, what has been done by Ford is no longer appropriate right now, because that examples was very much good for company that is producing a very limited product variety, like one single product or two different types of product with a very, very big volume. Like for example, in Ford, they are producing very limited variety, and all colors were black and very standardized from one product to the other, so they can maximize the efficiency without offering any flexibility. But now, if you look at the what is happening in the market, consumers are demanding large product variety, even as at a custom design. So that requires production system to become more flexible in producing different product variety. So innovation is needed to make sure that you can satisfy the market demand, while on the other hand, you can still keep the costs low. So companies like in the automotive sectors are now changing the way they are producing product. In the past, they are practicing what is called push system, where you design a few products and then produce it in mass quantity with a low cost. But now, as the variety needed by the market is getting higher and higher, you need to introduce flexibility to your production system. And automotive companies are moving from what is called make to stock to assembly to order, where after the company receiving customer order, you start assembling the product, but you produce the component in advance. So this is called changing the decoupling point in the production system. So the inventory is pushed to a lower level, while you are actually promising the customer to get a more customized product. So that is another very important innovation in the context of supply chain. So what is done by automotive companies by moving make to stock to assembly to order is also something that is happening a lot in other industry, like in garment industry, for example, where companies like Zara is postponing the some stage of the production process until they receive a more confirmed demand from the store or from the customer. So this is called postponement. Postpone means you delay the differentiation of the product until you get more information about the demand. So this is one type of innovation that is done in the supply chain, while it is very important for you to still keep the production efficient at low production cost, while you are offering a large product variety. In Zara, for example, they are producing up to 10,000 new products in a year, but they need to be quick as well. And then it is also very important to keep the production costs relatively low, so it is still affordable to the consumer. So this kind of innovation is called production postponement, to delay the differentiation of the product. So that is one very important innovation in the supply chain. Another changing phenomena in the supply chain is actually changing from what is called vertical integration to what is now we see as a network enterprise. In the past, most companies do whatever needed by themselves. So they produce the product, they even produce the raw materials, and they do control their distribution system and make the product closer to the market. So basically, they are doing everything. So they are doing marketing, they are doing product design, they are doing manufacturing. They also manage the distribution of the product up to the point very close to the consumer. But today, I think what we see is a large shift toward what is called subcontracting or outsourcing, where many of those activities are actually transferred to third party because those third party are actually able to do probably better than you and also probably cheaper than you as a result of a bigger quantity because they are consolidating orders from multiple companies. So this is something in economy called economies of scale, where as the quantity or the volume that you are producing increases, the cost per unit decreases. So this is also the reason in the context of supply chain management, now we have a separate logistic industry. In the past, logistic is part of manufacturing companies' activities, but now logistic become a separate industry because most of the manufacturing companies do not really want to manage logistic by their own, but instead prefer to transfer those activities to what is called third party. So in the context of subcontracting or outsourcing, then we have different models. Like, for example, in this slide, you see there is an evolution from what is called first PL to second, third, fourth to fifth PL. So PL is stand for party, logistic party. So I think most of the logistic companies nowadays are actually in the form of 3PL, which stand for third party logistic, which is an advancement from an earlier model, which is the second PL. PL is actually when a company offering basic services like only transportation or only warehousing. But with 3PL, actually, you are offering an integrated logistic services. So you can do warehousing, you can do transportation, custom clearance, etc., and in an integrated form. Now we see also some other development like 4PL, where a single company is actually becoming an agent to facilitate the relationship between client or the focal company, like a manufacturing company, with multiple third-party logistic. And there are some other development like 5PL, which is still, I think, a very much new concept in the context of logistic outsourcing. So this is a kind of innovation in terms of business models, especially when we are talking about logistic business model. Now, another innovation in the context of supply chain is called disintermediation. This is a kind of reducing the intermediate player in the supply chain. One example that is often discussed in the literature is Dell. If you want to buy a laptop, for example, you can send your own order online. It's not only ordering the finished product, but you can choose the component of the laptop. So you are actually configuring your own product. So every person who order a laptop can design a very customized product. So if there are 100 people ordering a laptop to Dell via this platform, there could be 10 different unique products that is ordered by these 100 people. So this is called intermediation because in that sense, you directly order to Dell. So Dell doesn't need to have a distributor and doesn't need to have a retailer, because then when the product is finished, it will be sent to your home address individually. So this intermediation is actually a kind of reducing intermediate players like distributors and retailers. So that is also another innovation in supply chain. Another thing is if you are looking at the warehouse right now, I think there are a lot of changes as well. In the past, when we hear about warehouses, it was mainly used for storage. And then later, like for example, in 1980 to 1990, those warehouses are transformed into what is called distribution center, where a distribution center is not only doing storage activity, but they are also consolidating the load for distribution to the store. And then later, we see a lot of value-added services done by the warehouses. And with the advance of online market, e-commerce right now, where people demanding fast delivery of the product that they are ordering via online, I think the warehouses are becoming what is called e-fulfillment center, where not only you are distributing the product and also adding value added to the product, but also making sure that the activities done can be very quick, can be very fast to support high expectation of the consumer. So that is the reason why there are a lot of innovation taking place in the warehouse. So this is a kind of a warehouse where you see robots actually working here, and the accuracy is very high, the speed is also very high. Yeah. And not only that, it is also more sustainable because they use a cleaner or greener technology in these warehouses. Another one that is also very important is the use of information. So in supply chain, it is very critical to have what is called information visibility. So we can capture the information end to end. For example, if you're working in a manufacturing company, you can actually know what is happening in the downstream stage of the supply chain. For example, you can monitor what is the inventory level in each store and what is the level of sales, how many products that you are selling today. So you can capture the information end to end. And that is very important right now because I think if you really want to improve the efficiency and improve the speed, it is the information that matters a lot. So things like technology that you see, like barcoding, RFID, IoT, GPS, including other things like voice recognition, object recognition, etc., are very important right now to be used in the supply chain. I think there are a lot of applications of this, including, for example, how companies like Tesco are actually using weather forecasts to inform the supplier what you need to supply tomorrow. So depending on the weather forecast tomorrow, the type of product that you are ordering probably need to be different to support the need of the consumer that is changing probably from day to day. I think with limited time that I have, I'm not going to explain all of this. The last one probably is the use of big data and intelligent system in supply chain to support activities like demand forecasting, transport analytics, inventory optimization, supplier analytics, etc. There are a lot of these applications that is very much helping the supply chain to improve the accuracy in transport analytics, for example, to improve the visibility of information, to enable you to track and to trace the vehicles and to schedule the production and schedule the delivery, etc. One of the example, probably more specifically, is in the area of demand forecasting, because this is very important, because demand forecasting is something that is very much related to all other activities in the supply chain. Once your demand forecast becomes more accurate, actually you will be able to improve the service level, reduce the cost, probably also improve the speed. But getting a better forecast is a very challenging task. But there are a lot of opportunities by using intelligent systems like machine learning, pattern recognition, sentiment analysis, etc. And the input to the system will be a lot more compared to traditional demand forecasting. So I think those are among the things that are changing from the past to now. There are a lot more actually when we are talking about supply chain innovation. I think we have seen really a lot of things that is happening around us. So thank you very much once again. So that is my sharing for this evening. I hope that some of these are giving you some insight on how to manage supply chain in the future. Thank you very much.
The room is muted. Now we can hear.
Can you hear it properly?
Yes, now, yes, you can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you so much for such an informative session. I'd like to highlight that one of the most important pillars of success is innovation. And we are in such an era where any industry that is correlated with supply chain and logistics need to apply new and unique models that's related to innovation in order for it to survive. So thank you so much for highlighting important topics such as IoT, big data, and one of the most important issues and research ideas that is related to supply chain is blockchain. And that's the topic that Sehbal will be talking with us about. Mr. Sehbal, are you with us? Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm here.
Guten Tag. How are you?
Guten Tag. I guess you can also see me now.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Amazing. Thank you for accepting our invitation. So you'll be talking about blockchain. I know that your master's thesis was about blockchain. So that's very interesting. So we would love.
I will start sharing.
Yeah, sure.
1 second, please. Tell me. I have 2 screens. Tell me what do you see?
Nothing.
Yeah, I can.
Just the blue screen. The window.
But do you see the presenter mode or do you see the full screen of the slide?
Yeah, it's visible right now. The floor is yours.
Yeah. Is it now still in the presenter mode or is it now the full screen?
Sorry, it's visible right now. You can start.
Yes, but is it the presenter mode at the moment or do you see the full screen?
No, it's in presentation mode.
It's in presentation mode, what you see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1 second, please.
Sure.
But it's the full slide because I see small sets of slides.
We only see the presentation mode. We're in the first slide right now.
First slide. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, then we can start.
Okay.
Good. 1 second. Then let me adjust some settings at my end because I don't see the slide at the moment. Okay, so after date from my end, we can start. I will mute the room because I hear my echo. You can still hear me, right? Thumbs up. Okay. So first of all, thanks a lot for inviting me today to the supply chain day. And I'm very happy to be here. Excuse me, can I mute the room? Thank you. Because I hear all the time.
I can't hear you.
You hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So again, let's start now this time for real. Thanks a lot for inviting me. I have the pleasure today to give an introduction to blockchain technology in the field of supply chain. And before I start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sehbal Cakmak. I live here in Austria. That's also where I'm based today, in my flat in Vienna. I have studied supply chain management at the Vienna University of Economics and Business, where I also had an exchange term in Hong Kong and an internship in Japan. Currently, I'm employed at Mondi Group, which is a multinational company for paper and packaging production. And my hobbies are cooking, dancing salsa, listening to K-pop. So as you can see, there was always an interest in the Asian part of the world. You can see here my private email address in case you would like to further discuss certain topics regarding this blockchain technology within the supply chains. And you can also find me easily on LinkedIn. So promise there will be no other Sehbal Cakmak when you type in my name. So I'm easy to find. And also for the students in the audience, in case you would like to apply for jobs at Mondi Group, also feel free to contact me because here and there we are also looking for promising candidates, especially in the supply chain excellence team, which I'm a part of. So you still see the slides, right?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Because at my end, it seems like I have some problems because it's not switching so quick. Okay. So for today's speech, I have selected one blockchain use case, which is about the airport supply chain. And to start with, I would like to give you a brief introduction to blockchain fundamentals for the ones who are not so familiar with the technology yet. So what is blockchain? Blockchain is a distributed ledger technology. That means you can think about it as a distributed database where data is not stored centrally, but every user has an identical copy of the data because the data is synchronized among the users. And this enables the data transparency that Professor Nyoman was addressing. It makes it transparent and traceable among multiple users of this database. On the picture on the right side, on the far right, you can see the difference between a central ledger architecture and a distributed ledger architecture. A central ledger has data stored centrally. You can see in the middle here a node, which is acting like an authority and sharing the data with the members in the network and gives the access to the data. And in case of distributed ledger, there is no central authority giving the access to the data. Rather, it's decentrally distributed among the users, and all of them have the identical copy of the status quo of the data. Yeah? And the name of the technology comes from its structure of having blocks sequentially arranged one after another and building a chain of blocks. When a transaction is created, it means that information, data is sent and saved on blocks. But before the transactions are locked in the block and then subsequently the block is added to the chain, there is a step in between. And that means that the transactions have to be verified first before they're added to the chain. And this is done with the so-called consensus mechanism. This is then actually the moment of having a confirmation that the data is verified. The consensus concept is very important because it's at the core of the distributed ledger technology, because consensus relates to the set of rules which guarantees the users the trustworthiness of the records in the blockchain. For example, their reliability and their accuracy. Yeah? So simply explained, consensus is the process when the majority of the users who have this copy of the database, when they agree on what the single version of the truth is. And this is very important. Since commonly the participants are mistrusting each other, the consensus mechanism forms the foundation of the trust in the blockchain-based database. And simply stated, forming this consensus means simply that the users within the network and maintaining the blockchain, they agree that any particular block in the chain is a semantic component of the ledger. And to explain in a simple way with the graphic here, this shows how it actually works. Yeah? A user requests a transaction. This request is sent to the network, and the network validates the transaction. This is step number 3. And when they're validating it, they can either say, okay, we are kicking this transaction out of it, or they have the consensus, meaning they agree to add this transaction to the block, and this block is subsequently added to the chain once it's closed. And this is then actually the moment of having the confirmation that the data is verified and stored in the chain. I will later come back to the consensus mechanism again, but I would like to explain you now why blockchain is considered as a secure and tamper-proof solution. So the ledger or the database, doesn't matter how we call it, it permanently records the history of transactions which are distributed to the users in the network. And the transactions are recorded in a sequential chain of cryptographic hash-linked blocks. Now this brings us to the question what a hash is. So each block in the chain has actually its own identity, and they're identified by a hash on the header of the block. So you can think about it like an algorithmic code that identifies the block. Yeah? Every locked block is mathematically linked to the previous block via this hash. So you can imagine this concept like locking one room and throwing the key of room number 1, for example, into the room number 2. Then when you're in room number 2 and you would like to lock room number 2, you're throwing this key of room number 2 into room number 3 and so on and so forth. And this is exactly one of the key elements and benefits of blockchain, because it makes the access to the previous rooms or blocks more complicated. Let's say you're currently in room number 50 and you would like to access the data in room number 40. That means that you need to open all doors backwards between them to get to the keys of room number 40. Yeah? So this is only possible with a lot of effort, because at the same time, when a user is trying to open blocks into the reverse direction, some other users in the network are actually trying to close blocks. That is why a manipulation attempt would cost a lot of computational power and time, because a user or a group of users, they must own more than 51% of the network to be faster in reversing the blocks than the remaining 49% of the network, which are at the same time trying to close blocks. And this is theoretically possible, but practically it's difficult to achieve. And since all users own an identical copy of the ledger, if there would be the attempt of one of the users to modify or delete previous blocks, the users of the network, they would notice this discontinuity in the database. And this user would be then immediately excluded from the network, and the blocks would be no longer synced in the chain. So these are the reasons why blockchain is considered as a secure and tamper-proof technology to save, especially sensitive data, because it's difficult to reverse once something is saved on it. Coming to the types of blockchain, there is not only one blockchain technology. It's not a one-size-fits-all solution. And it's good like that, because companies have different requirements, and blockchain can be customized according to their business requirements. So you can differentiate between a permissioned versus permissionless blockchain, and a private versus public blockchain. A public blockchain is when everybody can become a member of the network. This is the case, for example, in hello? So I will continue there. I heard again the echo of my voice. yeah, a public blockchain is when everybody can become a member. And this is, for example, the case in Bitcoin's underlying technology. And the private blockchain means that the network is shared among a closed group and the new user has to be admitted from another user who has this authority. A permissionless blockchain is when members of the network have all rights, like for writing and reading data. And the permissioned blockchain means that an authority distributes the rights to write or read data to certain members of the network. So not everybody is allowed to do everything. You can see on the picture, for example, on the far right side, the blue bar is symbolizing a fully centralized ledger, which is similar to today's typical systems, yeah, where one person has the authority to share data with you. This is even the case, for example, in the companies that we work in, where IT gives you certain rights for folders, for example, yeah, and not everybody has the same rights. And the green bars on the more left side, they represent the types of blockchain combinations. For example, it could be private and permissioned. That means private means that the network is for a closed group, and permissioned means that still an authority gives you certain rights for the data. Then when we go one step further to the left, we see the public permissioned. That means everyone can be a member of the network, but not everybody has the same rights. And when we go to the far left, we see the public permissionless system. Everybody can be a member of the network and everybody has every permission. This is also the case in Bitcoin's underlying technology, and it's a representation of a fully decentralized system. And also consensus mechanisms, they are different depending on the blockchain type. So the expected threat and degree of trust among the users, they determine the type of consensus mechanism to be used for transaction validation. For example, public blockchains, they utilize the mechanisms which is called proof of work. And it's one of the simplest but a strong consensus process because it has the simple logic that the longest branch of the chain is agreed to be the true ledger. And this is, for example, also used for Bitcoin because it has a high degree of threat and no trust in the network is expected. And for this kind of mechanisms, a vast majority of the network must agree on a transaction before it's accepted into the distributed ledger. And these kind of mechanisms, they work well when the blockchain network has a large scale with a lot of members. On the other hand, when we have private blockchains, they apply customized consensus policies. That means every application can have its own definition of who must verify and agree to the transaction before it can be included in the blockchain. In private blockchains, the consensus is reached through a planned process with a pre-selected set of validators. Yeah? So that means already in beforehand, you decide who will be the validator of certain transactions. And these transactions are first then broadcasted to the network by the users, and then the validators verify them before adding them to the block. And principally, blockchain can be used in many cases, but it makes sense to use it when many stakeholders are involved and trust is at a low level, because with this consensus mechanism and with these functionalities of hash locking, these kind of things, they help to gain the trust among the participants of the network. And that makes only sense when many organizations are involved in one process where commonly participants mistrust each other. And this is exactly the case for the value chain across the aviation industry, which is characterized by collaborations with many partnerships of travel service providers. For example, or especially in ground handling services, they depend highly on teamwork. Yeah? So, for example, big airports like Frankfurt or Los Angeles or Miami or whatever, they involve usually more than one organization for completing the ground handling services, which consists of, for example, water and waste services, fueling, catering, cleaning, passenger and baggage handling, etc. And the challenge is to complete all these operations within 30 minutes because an airline's aim is to turn around a flight within 30 minutes because they only make money when they're in the air and not on the ground. So you can see there's a time pressure. The ground handling personnel, because they're usually from different companies, they also operate with their own systems and databases. And at the same time, they all rely on the data and need information from each other. For example, is the gate correctly assigned, and does the airline know this? Are the teams at the right time at the right place so that the turnaround can be processed as planned? Yeah. So as you can see, it's very essential to these kind of processes to know who has the correct information from one moment to the other. And with the involvement of many parties, it creates a lack of interoperability and transparency, which is considered as the biggest obstacle for achieving a seamless passenger journey. And in this regards, blockchain technology offers a multi-enterprise application that eliminates the requirement of having individual applications which run separately, and it can offer a single source of truth to all involved organizations. Because sometimes there are conflicts when the data or when the same data is stored by multiple companies and the data does not match. Yeah? So that is why the industry players are encouraged to have a shared application with only one version of data. And the lack of this interoperability and trust due to the fact that many stakeholders are involved in one process is a very typical feature for or why multi-enterprise applications such as Hyperledger Fabric, for example, can be very beneficial. And having said that, I'll now explain what Hyperledger Fabric is and why it's a promising solution to apply to supply chains. So Hyperledger Fabric is a consortium blockchain. Yeah? This is developed by IBM under the Hyperledger Consortium, where cross-industry companies intend to work together. It is a private and consortium permission blockchain. That means the network is shared among a closed group, and the users have to be admitted by a group of users who act like an authority. And the consortium blockchain is considered as the appropriate architecture concept for business environments because they're intended for restricted audience, even though they're including many organizations. The typical characteristics of a consortium blockchains are, first of all, that they operate under the leadership of a group of entities and they enable collaborations among organizations. They are decentrally deployed and managed by different owner companies. The members of the network share the authority among them, and each party can have writing and reading rights. However, the members do not need to reveal sensitive information to other participating organizations on the network, and this is very important. And this is possible because private transactions are allowed within Hyperledger Fabric. That means confidential information can be shared with a subset of participants on a private channel, for example. And another characteristics specifically of Hyperledger Fabric is that it supports smart contracts. Smart contracts are integrated into a certain blockchain network, and they enable the execution of operations under certain circumstances. So there is a logic that is applied with the smart contracts to the operational sequence in the supply chain. So principally, smart contracts, they specify the operational sequence to be conducted. For example, when you can say if condition XY is met, then event A will be conducted. Yeah, and especially in this ground handling use case, a multi-signature smart contract could be useful to be used by all ground handling parties for digital verification with a digital signature, for example, that verifies that steps and checks have been completed before the departure. And this would enable then the collaborative decision-making, because departure clearance would be then hold still until each party signs and verifies with the digital signature. Yeah? For example, in ground handling services, the fueling service is rather dangerous, so there shouldn't be anyone around the plane or in the plane. Only fire truck is allowed to be next to the fueling tank, and once this fueling service is completed, the person or the department in charge of that could sign it digitally, and this digital signature could trigger with the smart contract logic the next operation in the sequence, which could be, for example, the cleaning service. Yeah, so that this digital signature from the responsible person for the fueling could trigger, could send, I don't know, a workflow to the next person who has to operate, so that they can go then to the plane and start the operations. And once they have signed it, the next event could be triggered. This is an example how the smart contract in this use case could be used. And at the end, I would like to summarize why Hyperledger Fabric might be the most suitable blockchain technology for supply chains. So firstly, it fulfills the enterprise's needs of privacy while sharing the data with other companies. And secondly, consortium platform is very similar to a fully private blockchain, with the main difference that the ledger is distributed not within one single company, but rather shared among many organizations who must operate together efficiently, ideally. Yeah? And therefore, this platform is suitable for organizational collaboration, which has still a desire to have a permissioned private environment. And due to the high level of privacy need in airport operations especially, Hyperledger Fabric is the ideal blockchain technology when trust is low, but the interoperability standards or requirements are high. So this is content-wise the end of my speech. But before I end my speech totally, I would also like to admit that I find it very interesting how the blockchain technology is put more and more on the spotlight. Because when I finished my studies, I was just, before we entered this session, I was talking with Professor Mamun and Nyoman about it. When I finished my studies in early 2020, it was in January, shortly before the pandemic. Not many people knew actually or were interested in blockchain, and many thought it's a technological trend, hype, and many still do believe so. Yeah. So, but when I was talking about blockchain, they only knew Bitcoin, but not the underlying technology of it. So my personal experience is that until 2021-22, especially research and consulting companies were highly interested in the technology. I can remember that when I was interviewing for my position at Monde in late 2021, I told the managers that I also have an admission for a PhD about blockchain and CO2 tracking on it, and none of them were interested in this topic, and they didn't want to finance the PhD program back then. But now, only 1 year later, the interest also within Monde Group shifted more towards the technology, and we are now proactively looking for use cases where it could benefit us due to the future legal requirements of product traceability. So that is why I would really recommend the students in the audience, in case you're interested in this blockchain technology, I suggest you to put even more emphasis on it, because the trend shows that even now the production companies are getting interested in it. So that's it from my side. Thank you. You're muted. You're muted. The room is muted. Now I see it.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your presentation, especially that you're talking about supply chain and its correlation with blockchain. And I would like to say that I'm undergoing a research paper that is related to blockchain as an undergraduate. So I would like to thank you very much for emphasizing on the importance of such topic. And I can't wait to do my master's in Vienna Business School too, because I hear that they have a very good master's program.
Yeah, true. It's considered as one of the best.
Yeah,
I have to thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Sure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let's start with the professor, Tim. Can you hear us, Professor?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, are we ready to get started?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I understand we're running out of time, and that's not an issue. I hear an echo in the background, by the way. Are we okay?
That is because of the room.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make this. I just keep hearing an echo.
I just muted the room now. Now you shouldn't hear the echo when you.
Okay, okay, everyone can hear me. I understand we're running short on time, so I'll try to make this quick. And if you would like to invite me back on a future date, feel free based on what I talk about. First of all, thank you very much for having me. I told my son that I was going to make a presentation to students in Cairo, Egypt, and he said, well, can I go see the pyramids? And I had to explain to him that this was a conference call, that I wouldn't actually be there face to face. So I had to proceed to buy him this, if you can see it. It's a Lego set of the pyramids in Giza. This cost me $130 US. So maybe next time, Umar, you can invite me to Egypt for a face-to-face presentation. I would welcome that. So let me begin by saying, I understand that it's 32 degrees Celsius in Cairo. That's way too warm for me. Where I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan, it's 22 degrees Celsius, which is much more comfortable for me. If you look at the map in Michigan, this is Michigan. I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is on the southwest corner of the state. We're surrounded by enormous amounts of industry, and we're in a situation in the United States where there are twice the jobs in supply chain management since COVID, since before COVID. So I just want to explain to you what's happened. People ask me, what is supply chain management? What do your students major in? What do they study? And what do employers expect? In general, what I try to say is our students become a jack of all trades without becoming a master of any. I don't know if that translates well, but it basically means you have to be good at a bunch of different things, and you don't necessarily have to be an expert at any one specific thing. So what employers have told us is this supply chain management field has become so very broad and strategic in nature, even though you think it's a niche area, that they want our students to learn to be data scientists, to be lawyers, to be engineers, to negotiate, to be able to problem solve, to know how to use cloud technology so they're not dependent on Excel spreadsheets and entering stuff manually all the time. So the end result is we keep adding to this curriculum so that our students become a jack of all trades, where they can do many different things very well, but they don't necessarily have to be an expert in one specific field. The end result is we don't have enough students going into this discipline because it's demanding. And the end result is demand vastly exceeds supply. So when our students graduate, they tend to have 3 to 5 job offers to choose from, and their starting salaries tend to be over $70,000 US a year. And by age 30, they're making over $100,000 US a year based on supply and demand conditions. The end result is, I think a lot of you have an opportunity to be in a global economy and drive up your market value. There we go. The echo's gone. So I encourage you to continue to develop your hard skills, but then also don't ignore your soft skills. What's happened in the United States is companies are having such a hard time finding students that have supply chain specific skill sets and these hard skills. They're willing to take people that don't have these hard skills and train them at work, so that they're looking for soft skills now. So in the United States, we run a lot of projects in industry with students for the purposes of them being able to develop these soft skills. If you have these soft skills in a global economy, I think you open up the job opportunities because of the skill sets that are kind of hard to learn in the classroom and develop over a period of time. So some of the soft skills, as an example, would be learn to become a problem solver, learn to become a consultant to the organization that you work for. In the United States, the #1 soft skill that employers look for right now is no longer leadership. Leadership traits and qualities are still very important. They want people that work well with others, that people gravitate towards, that can be a mentor and then also can be mentored. But the #1 skill set, soft skill in the United States right now, is they want to look at someone and say, is this a person that can look at problems creatively, and solve them. So learn how to be a problem solver, learn to organize your thoughts, make team-based decisions, present yourself confidently. And I think if you do those things, develop those soft skills, combined with those hard skills typically associated with supply chain management, you create career opportunities throughout your lifetime. So I understand we're pressed on time. Again, I just want to leave you with the notion that what's happened is in supply chain management, because of its very broad nature, we used to say you're majoring in 3 distinct yet interrelated functional areas, those being purchasing, operations, and logistics management. Well, now they want you to not only have expertise in those areas, but they want you to be a data scientist. They want you to be a lawyer because there are legal issues in the supply chain. They want you to have finance and accounting skills because guess what? You're going to have to be able to talk to the CFO one day. They want you to have engineering skills. Why? Because if your company designs and builds things, they want you to be able to interact with engineers not only internally, but externally with your suppliers. They want you to be problem solvers. So now we have classes where you formally learn how to solve problems with Lean Six Sigma and DMAIC and A3 problem solving tools. And then we have companies telling us that they want specific skill sets for specific industries. So if you work for a medical device company, they want you to understand the supply chain issues associated with all that. So the opportunities are endless. Like I said, during COVID in the United States, the number of supply chain management job openings on LinkedIn literally doubled. We haven't kept up with providing the industry with enough working professionals that can do these jobs. And the end result is, I think there are opportunities for everyone out there in a global economy, even in the United States, even for international students. All right, I'm going to stop right there. We're pressed for time. It's, I think, 5:15 p.m. in Cairo. I will let you go. Omar, is there anything else I can do for you? And you're muted, sir.
Are we audible?
Good. Yep. I can hear you.
I can hear you. Great. Thank you so much. Us as students and prospective professionals in the future need to understand what the industry needs from us. We need to know what are the new set of skills that we need to understand for us to be more employable in the future, especially in the United States or Canada, where these industries are at the prime. And I can't wait to visit Michigan. I'm planning to go to UMich very soon, so that would be very wonderful.
Sounds great.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
So I'd like to talk quickly. I'm here representing the International Supply Chain Educational Alliance, and I'm very thankful that all of the participants have accepted our invitation today. Attendees, thank you so much. We wanted today to be an opportunity to socialize, students to understand that we in the future will be part of this supply chain ecosystem. And it's a chance to know how the professionals are working. And we wanted to have professors and professionals because we believe that academia and real life work, they are very complementary. So that was very important for us. So we're very thankful that you accepted our invitation. And we'll have you all soon in Egypt physically. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I will also get out of the call. Thanks a lot again for having me.